General's office facing prosecution after committing alleged sexual acts with a teenager. Plus, senators wrap up session, voting on a number of bills now heading to the governor's desk. And Guadalupe responds to certain police officers' frustration over the use of sanahis while on duty.
Hafidez and buenas noches. Bienvenido para KUAM News Primetime. Guahusinik Delgado.
Sa Guahusi Destiny Cruz, Biba Fresco Friday si Zeus Maasi Puri Manano Mizu Guini na programa.
An employee with the Attorney General's office found herself locked up in the Department of Corrections prison.
The 47-year-old employee stands accused of engaging in sexual acts with a 14-year-old girl. Lorena Unkenko is charged with third-degree criminal sexual conduct. Court documents state the alleged sexual abuse occurred multiple times over the past month. Unkenko is an administrative service officer with the AG's office. She allegedly told police she had a romantic interest in the child, admitting the latest sexual incident occurred Sunday in the parking lot at the Agana Shopping Center.
A special prosecutor was appointed to handle the case due to her employer's conflict. Unkenko appearing before Superior Court Judge Benjamin Sison today. She was told to hire a private defense attorney. Unkenko was released from prison late this afternoon on $25,000 bond. She is scheduled to appear back in court on April 11th. Meantime, the Chief Deputy Attorney General Joe Guthrie declined comment as the investigation into the allegations against Unkenko are ongoing. A private contractor is accused of allegedly stealing $13,000 from two of his customers over the past couple of years. 49-year-old Rolando Valencia Ocampo charged with 2 counts of theft by deception. Court documents stating the first victim hired Ocampo to do work at his house in December of 2022 and paid more than $9,000 over several months. But the victim alleged Ocampo never completed the work. Ocampo also allegedly gave the victim a $6,000 check, which bounced and never returned the victim's calls.
A second alleged victim told police they paid Ocampo $3,300 for work that he never started. Ocampo allegedly avoided the second victim for months and never refunded the money. During his arrest, Ocampo allegedly told police, quote, "Sorry, sir, I'll pay them back."
Late breaking news, the legislature has failed to override the veto of Senator Chris Barnett's bill to require the new hospital be built at Ipoh Point. The vote was 7 ayes and 8 nays. 7 ayes rather and 8 nays. An override requires 10 votes. The final day of March session began with Senator Barnett making his plea to overturn the governor's action in the highly charged issue.
I ask that we move on this override so that we can once and for all start moving forward with the future of our people's health care. There's been little to no new details on the governor's proposal, and I think knowing full well the conditions of the Guam Memorial Hospital, I mean, we've all heard the life expectancy of GMH is about 5 years, so time is of the essence.
Senators then moved on to vote on 11 bills and 1 resolution. They include Senator Roy Knatz's measure to allow the Election Commission to determine the markings for the 100-foot boundaries around polling places. It also requires police to enforce electioneering rules at the request of the Guam Election Commission. Earlier this week, senators declined to move forward on 4 other Kanata bills. Meanwhile, senators also passed Vice Speaker Tina Munoz Barnes' bill to establish a harmonized commodity coding system, bringing Guam in line with a commonly used international standard. The governor of Guam hopes something can be worked out within the Guam Police Department regarding recent concerns from officers about the ban of sanahis and any cultural statements.
Jonah Gancharfaris has the latest.
With a little over a week left on Mes Chamorro, officers of the Guam Police Department are still hoping a change can be made with the policy that has recently been enforced by Colonel Joseph Carbolito. As KUAM reported, it was last week when we were made aware of an order that banned the use of the sanahi, citing it gave an unprofessional appearance. A few days after our story aired, added to the order was a ban of any cultural statement. According to a letter from an anonymous officer delivered to KUAM earlier this week, Carbolito is citing an old policy, and even though he was made aware of the new policy, which allows for the use of the sanahi and other jewelry, he's keeping to the old order. The new policy, which went into effect September 20th, 2019, states under jewelry adornment for uniformed personnel, Items of personal jewelry in good taste may be worn in conjunction with the uniform. It goes on to say that necklaces that do not present a safety hazard can be concealed under the clothing. For non-uniform personnel, along with personal jewelry in good taste, in all cases, items of jewelry will be prohibited if they detract from the effectiveness of the officer. KUAM spoke to the Lieutenant Governor of Guam, Joshua Tenorio, on the matter.
I support the culture, and I've received some concerns from some officers about it. I'm looking into it. When you're in a paramilitary organization, there's rules. But I'm always one of those that certain times, right, and for certain reasons, there should be, some accommodations.
Although he hasn't had a chance to sit down with Chief Stephen Ignacio and Carbolito to understand the rationale behind the order, he plans to do so.
For me, I'm always wanting to work things out.
And the Lieutenant Governor's response to officers with concerns?
Of course, those are valid concerns, and I'll take a look at it. We don't get involved in uniform policies and things like that, but of course, the chief is our appointee. So we'll talk to him and we'll see how they'll be able to reconcile the concerns.
Jonakan Charfris, KM News.
3 grass fires burning about just an hour apart, keeping authorities on high alert today. Take a look at this viewer-submitted footage. Dark plumes of smoke seen from Route 16. A motorist heard saying he's surprised the fire got worse.
Just before 1 this afternoon, units with the Guam Fire Department responding to Chalan Beretta Dededo for a grass or trash fire burning about 1 acre. Then at 1:51 p.m., GFD also responding to 2 separate grass fires at Carmen Memorial Drive in Tamuning and at South Ugudu behind St. Paul's Christian School. Just before news time, we heard that all fires were actively being extinguished by fire officials, including that of the Department of Agriculture's forestry firefighters. This as the National Weather Service warns of an active red flag warning for Guam until 7 tonight. A fire weather watch also in effect until Sunday evening. Time for a quick break. Keep it here.
You're watching KUAM, your leader in local news.
Today, Fresco Fridays on KUAM News. Presented by Fresco Clothing, original custom design apparel of Guam and the Marianas. Located in Hagutnya, just across from the Gani Shopping Center.
Rooted in the community since 1995, Kmart is here to serve you 24 hours a day. From essentials to fill your pantry to delightful treats, our selection of groceries have everything you need to stock your kitchen with love. Step directly into style with the latest fashion finds in shoes and clothing for the family at unbeatable prices. Turn your living space into a dream home with our unparalleled selection of home goods. Illuminate your shopping experience and brighten your budget every week with our Blue Light specials. These specials are a testament to our commitment to offering the biggest variety for the best value. Discover a world where quality and savings meets convenience. Kmart is your one-stop shop where every visit is an adventure. Shop smart and save big at Kmart, your Guam shopping destination.
So you were having an infection that was spreading throughout your whole body. They were so swollen, her eyes had an infection. You received the anointing with the holy oil. You received the prayer of faith. What happened after that?
I can walk again and I can see.
You are seeing images now of how this child used to be.
He was suffering from severe eczema, taking him to the hospital, and they said there's no cure for his eczema. He's been getting anointed with the holy oil. He's better. His skin cleared up.
The free distribution of the holy oil will take place in the Calvo Fieldhouse, UOG. Call or text us on WhatsApp at 671-971-7171.
Welcome back to Prime Time. Over in the CNMI, a local booze contractor hired to help promote former Governor Ralph Torres' business program turns himself over to authorities after facing an arrest warrant for contempt.
It comes after he refused to answer lawmakers' questions during a committee hearing. Regional correspondent Tomas Menguatnia reports.
Boost program contractor Shane Villanueva turned himself over to the Department of Corrections on an arrest warrant for contempt, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter. KUAM News was there Friday morning when Villanueva left the Department of Corrections with his lawyer by his side after he reportedly posted bail.
Mr. Villanueva, any comment?
Villanueva is one of 3 former Boost contractors a House committee subpoenaed to testify about former Governor Ralph Torres's $17 million federally funded program meant to support local businesses. However, some lawmakers allege it was used to benefit Torres's inner circle for political purposes. Villanueva first faced the legislature in February, where he scheduled his testimony and told KUAM this at the time.
Happy to be here and to answer the legislative questions and get it kind of gets over with, actually. So yeah, we'll be back March 5th and we'll see you guys here.
Do you deny any wrongdoing or anything that the House has suggested that has come about from Boost?
We'll let the proceedings handle itself at this point, Thomas, and kind of go from there.
However, on the day of his testimony in early March, Villanueva invoked his Fifth Amendment right and did not directly answer any questions. He was found in contempt.
On the advice of my counsel, I respectfully invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege. Therefore, I respectfully decline to answer the question.
A few days after, the House Speaker certified the contempt charge and sent the information to the Attorney General for prosecution. It remains to be seen what will happen to the 2 other contractors and the former Secretary of Finance who were also found in contempt. Tomas Maglonia, KUAM News, Saipan.
And in a statement to KUAM News, Saipan Senator Selena Babauta, who began the Boost investigation in the previous legislature, said, in any criminal case, a person is presumed innocent until proven guilty. This applies to Mr. Shane Villanueva as well. If someone ignores the legislative subpoena, it can obstruct his vital function. Arresting someone for contempt sends a message that legislator subpoenas must be taken seriously.
Back here at home, the Guam National Guard ushering a new era of aviation with the arrival of an advanced helicopter.
KUAM getting a look at the aircraft at its new home at the Barrigada Readiness Center. The Guam National Guard has a new bird gearing up to take flight, welcoming an upgraded Lakota helicopter with cutting-edge technology to its fleet. Enhanced with an electro-optical sensor with infrared laser-pointed capabilities and a 30 million candle power searchlight, the aircraft is now a vital resource in providing greater range in search and rescue efforts. Captain Napu Castro is the commander of the Guam Guard Aviation Detachment.
Greatest capability advantage is that 30 million candle power, able to provide search at night. Right? The sensors up front is the infrared. We're able to distinguish heat signatures in a cold background. So, especially out here in Guam, you have the open sea. If we're able to see a body or a person out at sea, if they give a heat signature, we're able to pinpoint that.
With these state-of-the-art capacities, this chopper is already being utilized in the Southwest United States border mission. Guam Guard Public Affairs Mark Scott on how the Lakota will be used for homeland security and border patrol missions here.
Here in Guam, we also have a border, right? It might not be clearly defined, but we're surrounded by ocean. And as you've seen in the news too, we also have undocumented or illegal immigrants making their way to our shores. So the same capabilities that allow us to do better search and rescue are the same capabilities that are going to allow us to assist with that Border Patrol mission, which is our Army National Guard mission.
The helicopter is still under maintenance with crew training to come within the next month. Castro says he hopes to have the Lakota flying by the tail end of April.
Next, our friends Captain Ken Cruz from Shut Up and Fishes can seriously multitask.
While inviting you to their 6th Mahi Wahoo Shootout Derby this weekend, he also prepared fresh sashimi caught by a charter group. Here's more from Boat Basin.
So this weekend is our 6th, okay? Count that, number 6. The 6th year in a row. It's our 6th annual Mahi and Wahoo shootout. Mahi, which is this fish right here, and Wahoo we didn't get any today, but I think with the full moon coming, they should be around this weekend. Okay.
You've never had this before. Never eaten raw fish before.
Anyway, our shootout is it's brought to you by Budweiser and Guam Visitors Bureau. We do it as a one-day event in 2 locations, here in the Latin Boat Basin and down at Agate Arena. It's like I said, it's a one-day derby, so it's from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have 3 different categories, 2 different categories, I'm sorry, but 3 different places. So we got Wahoo and Mahi, obviously, and we got the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place winners. We got cash prizes. You got that pepper. Get that pepper back on it. Yeah. Let's see the reaction with that pepper.
That pepper gives it something else, doesn't it? That's pretty good. That's really good.
Yeah.
I'm a changed man. Give me a beer, please.
All right.
You guys, thanks so much for sharing everything you guys got going on, man.
Wow. So interesting.
Yeah, it looks like a good day to be out in the water for sure.
Definitely. Well, make your way to Academy of Our Lady of Guam this Sunday for a special book launch for Dr. Laura Torres-Sauter's 40th anniversary edition of Daughters of the Island. First published in May 1992, Dr. Sauter tells us readers can expect quite a bit of changes in the new edition, an additional 150 pages to be exact. The 40th anniversary edition brings the stories of 9 Chamorro women who made a significant impact on Guam to the forefront.
It's about Chamorro women organizers, but I do have several chapters on the history of Guam, written from the conventional perspective and then written from an indigenous perspective. And I tell the stories of women and women organizers in the 80s. So it's a flashback to the present. And it's very exciting. Chamorro women have always been strong in our culture.
The event will also honor the 3 living case studies, Jerry Gutierrez, Annie Roberto, and Tina Blas. Dr. Torres-Sauter will be presenting the book to the daughters or granddaughters of the 6 women who have passed. The book launch will be on Palm Sunday at Academy's Fine Arts Auditorium from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. The Guam Community College celebrating 12 successful completers of its Bus Driving Boot Camp 3.
All of whom are now currently employed with the program sponsors, the Department of Public Works, the Guam Regional Transit Authority, and Klopenberg Enterprises. All 12 have earned their Class D licenses for bus driving, along with other certifications, including passenger assistance and Heart Saver First Aid CPR AED. GCC President Dr. Mary Okada congratulated another fruitful cycle of the program, imparting this message to the graduates. She says if you are already or currently employed, hopefully you get that next promotion by getting this certification you just recently received, or if you are not used, we hope that we have been able to help you open up that opportunity for you.
Bright and early this morning, the grand opening was held for Coast 360's Upper Tumon Member Center. Situated at the corner of Harmon Industrial Park intersection, the state-of-the-art building conveniently located for members in the central part of the island and its surrounding areas. Coast 360 is Guam's largest local non-for-profit credit union on Guam, and its new member center boasts convenient 24-hour services to include 2 walk-up ATMs that allow cash and check deposits, withdrawals and balance inquiries, and transfers, and an express drop box for payments and deposits. The new center is also designed with 4 lanes. Here's Chief Executive Officer Henry Delicana.
To give them better access and a real comfortable banking environment to do their banking day-to-day, to do the day-to-day banking. So we've got a lot more in store for our members.
The Upper Tumon Member Center's hours of operation are from Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. For more information, make sure to visit coast360fcu.com or any of their social media pages. And now for a look at your world at home.
Here's a view captured of the waves off Port Authority of Guam.
afraid, keep the smile on your face. The moments you can't replay, and I'll be around. Whoa, you can count on me. You can count on me for life.
Wherever life takes you, we're always here for you. Calvo's Insurance. Count on us for life.
For the first time in 30 years, Coors Light has an ad in the big game.
Actually, this is a Miller Lite commercial.
Mountain Cold Refreshment. It's Miller time. Great taste. Less filling. Cold as the Rockies. Coors commercial. Miller commercial.
Actually, it's a Blue Moon commercial.
Order Pizza Hut now and get a free large pizza later. That's a free pizza on your next order. So you can pizza now, then pizza again. Free pizza means your next dinner is covered. Your future self will thank you. Get it while it's hot. Only at Pizza Hut.
Troy Polamalu Safety, a.k.a. the Quiet Storm. Troy's seen more out of the corners of his cold steel eyes than most mortal men have seen straight on. The last thing an offense would witness? A fury of flowing mane, incoming at high speed.
Hey!
Cat-like quickness and supernatural instincts like Troy's only come once in a lifetime. And oh, how grateful we are that they came in ours. No one made the beloved burg of Pittsburgh feel quite as safe as this safety. The Hyundai Tucson with advanced safety and tech, because even safeties could use a little more safety themselves.
Find a plan that goes with your flow. Get unlimited local talk, text, and data at the most affordable rate with Unlimited Flow Postpaid.
Dude, this is a wow. 1000% a wow, dude.
Foodie Call is brought to you by Pepsi. That's what I like.
Happy day, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Foodie Calls. And today we're back in Agañas to go check out our friends at Chan's Hot Dog. And let's go see what they got for us today. Hi, how are you? Good. Can I just get one of your K-Dog combos with a number 7 today? Yes, and can I also get a Pepsi with that? Yes, that should be it for today.
So Darby ordered a number 7 with a Pepsi. Now we're gonna put our fries in. So this is our number 7. No, we have our special ingredients from Korea.
So excited, let's go give this a shot. So we have, this is what we're working with. First bite. Wow, can never go wrong with cheese and potato. And that nacho cheese sauce, so good. Cheers. And now we have the fries that comes with a combo that has their special garlic sauce. Yo, that's so good. I've had a lot of garlic fries before, but this one's different. There's like, they put garlic powder and the sauce, and it just tastes so good without it being too overwhelming. All right, guys, there you have it. Today's edition of Foodie Calls here with our friends at Chan's at Agañas Shopping Center. And also shout out to our friends at Pepsi for another edition of Foodie Calls. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Foodie Call is brought to you by Pepsi. That's what I like.
We've been telling you about the Run and Walk for Autism, and it is still going on, and you can still be involved, you can still help, and you can still get this amazing singlet. Check that out. Dry fit, super awesome, and you can be part of this amazing community. It's still happening, but you gotta register. We've been telling you guys. It's a 2K and a 5K. Make sure it's happening on the 20th at Chamorro Village Huts, 4 p.m. It's one of the sundown ones. The afternoon 5Ks are absolutely amazing. The 15th Annual Autism Community Together or Awareness Fair and First Poetry Slam is happening on Sunday, April 7th from 12 to 4 at the mall. There will be information booths, a face painting booth, and much more. And CNMI College Bound or college students, we got news for you because you can apply for the summer internship. The last day to do so is the 28th, so you got to get these in. Make sure to do it really, really fast if you have an interested in coastal management resources. Weekend is straight ahead. Hey, we'll see you guys at Special Olympics tomorrow. Remember, 8 a.m. opening ceremony. Ukuru. We'll see you there.
Now to your Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club shout-out submitted on KUAM.com.
And the winner of a yummy ice cream cake.
It's your Friday edition of the birthday shout-out, so here we go. Happy birthday number 18 to Kaleka Joe T. Estacio. Happy birthday to you, and we love you always from Dad, Mom, Kale, Monica, and Elian. Edna Leongarel sending birthday wishes to you, Edna, and we love you always, Mom and Grandma. Miss Edna, we hope you have a wonderful birthday as well, and blessings to you and your family. Kaylee Brooke Mesa, happiest of birthdays to Kaylee. We hope you have a great birthday, Kai Kai. We love you very, very much. All right, a birthday cake this week is being whisked once you pick it up to the family of Bonita Wallace. So Bonita, we hope you have a wonderful extended birthday. And we are going to message you to let you know how you can get that cake. And please do enjoy, pick out a great flavor, because they got lots over there at Cold Stone Creamery, and share with your friends, because that is what having a birthday is all about on the island. Happy birthday once again.
Happy birthday to all of you celebrating out there. And speaking of celebrations, we're still celebrating our 70th anniversary here at KUAM. Loud and proud.
Loud and proud. And we just want to give a special thank you to the people of Bank of Guam.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for this beautiful charcuterie board. Oh my gosh.
Take a look at all that.
We enjoyed 2 boxes of this
This is just for
today.
you and I?
Definitely. And we have to just mention that this grape from Matsuki Hirayama, she gives it a stamp of approval.
Oh, yeah?
She said it's the sweetest grape of life.
I'll take the cheese.
Okay.
Cheers.
Happy 70th.
Estigates and Mizu Primetime Show. Si Zuas Masi Put Nenenega. Guahu Sinek Delgado.
Sa Guahu si Destiny Cruz na Fansafu Hamsi sa Gosa Iponi.
The Hub is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
The Indo-Pacific region is on the cusp of a new missile age. Those are the sobering words of missile expert Ankit Panda from the well-respected Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Panda was on Guam recently as the keynote speaker at the University of Guam's College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences 45th Annual Research Conference. His speech focused on the escalation of military defense capabilities throughout the Indo-Pacific, including Guam. In fact, much has been said locally about the Defense Department's plans for an unprecedented 360-degree missile defense system for the island to protect assets and defend the military and civilian populations against potential attack. And while Panda says Guam has been and likely always will be a target of American adversaries, the public can take some comfort in knowing that Panda believes an attack by a foreign aggressor is neither imminent or inevitable. When we come back, our conversation with award-winning writer and international security expert Ankit Panda. Don't go away.
The Hub is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
Looks like it's prime time on.
Dr. Garcia?
Crest Reality Checkup. That grimy film on your teeth is actually the buildup of plaque bacteria, which can cause cavities in months. And your toothpaste just isn't cutting it.
Most toothpaste quit working in minutes, but the antibacterial fluoride in Crest Pro Health protects for up to 12 hours.
So I can stop cavities before they start.
Can I get a latte?
The #1 toothpaste brand in America, Crest.
Unlock your brightest smile with Crest. Available now at Payless.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience.
The Hub is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
Alpha day, everyone, and welcome to The Hub. I'm Nestor Lecanto. Our guest this week is Mr. Ankit Panda, who is an international security expert with the Carnegie Endowment on International Peace. Ankit, welcome to The Hub.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Okay, let me start off with, in your recent speech at the University of Guam, you talked about the region is at the cusp of a new missile age. I was wondering, could you elaborate on that?
Sure. So I don't think it's news to anyone that geopolitical tensions in the Pacific have intensified quite a bit in the last 10 years, really, driven primarily by differences between the United States and China. But more broadly, we can also look to the Korean Peninsula, where tensions between South Korea and North Korea have grown quite tense as well. What this has led to, among many things, is a buildup in defense capabilities across the board in China and North Korea, in the United States, among U.S. allies in the region. And one of the ways in which this buildup has manifested in particular has been the pursuit of missile capabilities, which I think present a set of risks that are particularly unique. These missiles, of course, in many cases carry nuclear weapons, in the case of countries like China, North Korea, and the United States, but not necessarily across the board. Notably, none of the new missiles the U.S. is building are nuclear capable in the Pacific, but of course, the U.S. does have a range of nuclear capabilities that could be brought to bear in a significant conventional conflict potentially in this region. So that's really what I was talking about. In my research, I've been looking at some of the implications of this, how to potentially limit some of the worst consequences, and I'm happy to talk about any of that today.
Sure. As you know, the Department of Defense is contemplating a 360-degree missile defense system for Guam. Could you talk us through what that is exactly and how effective do you think that would be?
Sure. So Guam, of course, as it's well known to its inhabitants, is a major forward operating logistical node for the U.S. military with the naval base, with Anderson Air Force Base, so on and so forth. And so in that type of a conventional conflict that I described in my opening comment, it is, of course, quite plausible that American adversaries, be it North Korea or China, would aim to strike those targets to prevent the United States from potentially surging its military forces to come to the aid of Taiwan or South Korea, so on and so forth. American adversaries have looked for a long time to see how the United States prosecutes expeditionary wars very far away from our own shores. And they understand, of course, the reliance that we have on territory alliances to be able to project power. And Guam stands as a uniquely important node for the United States in that way. So this plan to set up a new enhanced integrated air and missile defense system for Guam is, of course, designed to make that task for America's adversaries more difficult. Of course, no missile defense system will serve the role of a perfect shield. There is no such thing. What missile defenses can do is complicate planning for an attacker. The attacker will have to devote additional resources, having to account for the fact that missile defense might be able to absorb some of the incoming missiles. So that is ultimately what I think is being done here. The effort, the plan, as I understand it, is to significantly increase the protected nature of Guam. If that plan goes as foreseen, which of course there's many question marks there with potential cost overruns and other bureaucratic difficulties, Guam will end up having, on a per square mile basis, the most heavily defended airspace on Earth. That doesn't mean Guam will be invulnerable to attack, but it will mean that U.S. adversaries will have to consider the role of missile defenses as they potentially plan strikes on Guam.
Yeah. Why do you think DoD chose this particular missile defense system? Because as I understand it, it's kind of unprecedented. There's no real example of it anywhere else on the globe, is there?
That's right. There isn't really, but I would also say that the nature of the missile threats that Guam uniquely faces are also somewhat unprecedented. So the plan as it stands will include a layered range of systems, some systems that are designed to destroy missiles in their final stages of flight, literally right before they reach Guam. Other systems that will be capable of destroying incoming missiles outside of the Earth's atmosphere. Ballistic missiles, for instance, fly very high above the Earth on their way to their target. So it will be a mixture of capabilities. There will, of course, be efforts to add additional radar systems as well. That, of course, has implications for Guam's airspace, potentially affecting civilian aircraft that might be landing at the airport there, potentially having some effects on Guam's economy given the high level of tourism. So there's a lot that's being considered as part of the environmental impact survey that's ongoing to look at how these capabilities would fundamentally change everyday life on Guam in peacetime, regardless of the potential wartime benefits for the U.S. military.
Yeah, and as you suggest, one of the biggest concerns, I suppose, is that it would, I guess, take over 20 sites. And Guam, as you know, is a very small and land is very scarce and very valuable resource for the people. So there's a lot of concern about this particular choice of a missile defense system because it is so land intensive.
That's right. So my understanding is that a lot of out of the 20 sites that are under study right now for this system, many are on existing parcels of land controlled by the U.S. military. So if I had to guess, I would suspect that in the course of the survey, The disruptive effect of potentially deploying some of these capabilities, I think, will likely be evaluated with regard to whether some of these facilities can be deployed on land that's already controlled by the U.S. military. But absolutely, I think that's an entirely valid concern. And depending on how these missile defense systems are, not every missile defense system is designed to operate in the same way. So there are also specific considerations, particularly with point defense systems, those systems that are designed to destroy missiles right before they reach their targets. Those are most effective when they are co-located with the targets that they are trying to defend. So in the case of a facility like Andersen Air Force Base, there is an interest in defending against missiles right as they are about to arrive, potentially including cruise missiles, which, by the way, could also be launched from ship and aircraft in the case of an adversary like China. I think there will be a strong interest to make sure that those systems can be deployed as close as possible, or ideally on the base.
Yeah. Would you say that, the horse has left the barn, the train has left the station? There's no more turning back from this particular 360-degree missile defense system option?
No, I wouldn't say that at all. I think as part of the ongoing survey, there could simply be an outcome here that suggests that the costs are going to outweigh the benefit, the cost to Guam. There have been plans in the past, for instance, to surge the U.S. military's presence on Guam that just simply haven't been seen as environmentally sustainable. That said, I think what has left the barn, broadly speaking, is Guam's central role in this geopolitical confrontation in the Pacific. And so, unfortunately, as long as U.S.-China tensions continue to fester, and here's where some of my work on arms control and diplomacy comes in, as long as these things continue and Guam will be sort of in the crosshairs, so to speak, the United States will have to give quite a bit of thought for how to ensure that it is able to sustain its military operations in the Pacific out of Guam. There are efforts, of course, to try to disperse U.S. capabilities to other sites in the Pacific, but there's really no substituting what the United States military gains from Guam in the short term. So a lot of this, I think, continues to be a function of the broader geopolitical competition between the two countries.
Yeah, let's step back a little bit from the missile defense system and talk about that, the broader implications of this. Just from your perspective, how tense is the situation with respect to North Korea and with China and the Taiwan situation?
So look, I mean, in both of those cases, I don't see any imminent reason to believe that there's likely to be a conflict deliberately initiated by China or North Korea. But in both cases, I think there is plenty of room for crises to potentially spiral out of control. In the China-U.S. case, there have actually been, I think, in the last 6 months or so, some positive signs. We had a meeting between the U.S. and China last November on arms control, followed by the San Francisco summit meeting between President Biden and President Xi. That hasn't, of course, diffused the sources of tensions between the two countries, but it has at least taken us back from where we were potentially earlier last year, if you recall the high altitude balloon incident over the continental United States. But of course, we have to be open to the possibility that there could be an unintended clash, for instance, in the South China Sea or in the East China Sea between a U.S. warship or surveillance aircraft operating in international space lawfully and the Chinese military, which could, of course, develop in unexpected ways. Separately, of course, China continues to look at the political situation in Taiwan with interest. There's been an election in Taiwan resulting in, I think, a result that's not good for China, but somewhat tolerable in the short term, given that there is a split legislature and the Democratic Progressive Party, which China perceives to be insufficiently loyal to the principle of one China, at least as China sees it. That, I think, continues to be a source of concern. Of course, if we have political change here in the United States with our election, a lot of these dynamics in the short term could change. We could see U.S.-China tensions potentially heighten quite a bit if President Trump were to return to the White House. So that is something to keep an eye on. And then on the Korean Peninsula, Kim Jong-un continues to develop his capabilities, but the North Koreans right now are exporting a lot of their missiles to the Russians. And so if you look at what the North Koreans have been doing this year so far with their military exercises, it's all involved cruise missiles, recently artillery, tank systems. They don't seem to really be, in my view, looking for a deliberate conflict with South Korea. But again, the possibility of miscalculation and escalation, inadvertently or accidentally, I think remains high on the Korean Peninsula.
Yeah, speaking of North Korea, there's been a lot of saber rattling over the past few years from Mr. President Kim In fact, I believe it was during the Trump administration that it came to a head when there was actual threat against Guam. How realistic is that? I mean, it has not happened. It's never. He's never gone through with his threats, but he continues to rattle the sabers.
Yeah, so you're talking about the August 2017 threat. In August 2017, Kim Jong-un threatened to envelop the waters around Guam with 4 intermediate-range ballistic missiles. That was an interesting time. The North Koreans were seeking to demonstrate to the United States that they had a credible nuclear deterrent. And of course, Guam is the closest U.S. territory with U.S. citizens from North Korea. And for a number of decades, I mean, North Korea had sought to have this capability to be able to threaten U.S. territory with U.S. citizens with its own missile capabilities. And specifically in August 2017, of course, that was also the period of the fire and fury threats being made by President Trump against Kim Jong-un. So it was a tense time. I think the North Koreans were also experimenting with what their new nuclear capabilities could do for them. So that threat to sort of envelop Guam, they never actually committed to it in an unqualified way. Kim had sort of indicated that he was reviewing the plans and he might proceed with it. And their core complaint, of course, was U.S. bomber operations from Andersen Air Force Base. That was where the U.S. was flying many of the B-1B bombers to the Korean Peninsula. Those are non-nuclear capable bombers, but the North Koreans, they don't care. They see those bombers effectively as strategic nuclear delivery systems, and so they reacted in this very harsh way. But I do think, if U.S.-North Korea tensions do spike again, Guam might find itself at the tip of North Korea's threats once again, unfortunately.
Yeah, fascinating discussion. Ankit, we've got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more with our discussion with Ankit Panda of the Carnegie Endowment on International Peace right after this break.
The Hub is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
Honey, do you want some milk?
Do you ever wonder how your favorite products make their way into your local stores? Most arrive on state-of-the-art Matson vessels that transport containers of food, household items, equipment, and supplies into the islands every week. Because we know that you depend on us, we work closely with our partners to ensure that our shipments arrive on time, all the time, so you can find your favorite products when you need them. We transport the region's most precious cargo that supports successful businesses and promotes a better quality of life for our families. Matson is proud to have been the hometown shipping carrier for Guam, the CNMI, and Micronesia for the past 25 years, and you can count on us to be here for generations to come.
Brian Dawkins, Safety, aka Weapon X. Brian laughs at audibles, laughs. For there is nothing he does not anticipate. He is never caught off guard because his guard is always up. His skills of perception are honed like talons. Brian sees all. He knows all. Dominates all. His defensive prowess is feared the world over. The all-electric Hyundai Ioniq 5 with advanced safety and tech. Because even safeties could use a little more safety themselves. Search for your Hyundai Ioniq 5 today.
The Hub is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
All right, everyone, welcome back. We are back with our discussion with Ankit Panda, who is an international security expert for the Carnegie Endowment on International Peace. And Ankit, before we took the break, we were talking about the regional threats and possibilities, and but in essence, this has been going on for quite a long time, and you don't see any imminent threats to Guam at this point.
I don't know. We always have to be vigilant, of course, and I think that's a big part of where deterrence comes in, right? The United States intends to dissuade America's adversaries from carrying out attacks. But imminently, I mean, based on my read of the geopolitical environment on the Korean Peninsula and in the Taiwan Strait right now, I don't see an imminent crisis or a conflict.
Yeah, and a missile attack on Guam is not inevitable. But what should and must be done to continue to avoid one?
Absolutely. So I think we end up right back at that idea of deterrence, which is fundamentally much more an art than a science, but it involves communicating to America's adversaries that the benefits of attacking will be outweighed by the costs. And there's two ways to do that. One is deterrence by punishment, where you simply tell the other side that America will have the ability to retaliate, and they will endure costs if they do decide to attack the United States. This is traditionally how nuclear deterrence has worked. But I think more realistically, what we see happening right now on Guam is part of what at least those of us who work in more academic settings like to call deterrence by denial, indicating to America's adversaries that attacking Guam will not take the U.S. military out of the fight effectively, that an attack will not succeed to accomplish the military objectives that America's adversaries seek. And so that is ultimately where I think missile defense is, I think, part of that picture, but it cannot be the entire picture. And I worry that what we're seeing right now is an overemphasis on missile defense, which of course is also not essentially the most cost-effective way to enhance Guam's resilience, Guam's ability to endure these attacks. And when I say that, I mean both for the U.S. military and for the people of Guam and Guam's ability to function as a civilian society as well. And so part of, I think the conversation has to be broadened to consider the role that shelters, the hardening of utilities, of infrastructure, the dispersal of assets, right? Dispersal is, of course, tricky. As you've noted, Guam is not very, unfortunately, not very rich in land, and the U.S. military already controls about a third of the island. So dispersing on Guam might not be possible, but that's where I think dispersing into broader facilities, territories in the Pacific and to U.S. allies could potentially be valuable. And so all of that, I think, plays a picture in dissuading attacks on the United States. But again, deterrence alone cannot be the solution because ultimately all of this, what I just described, is going to lead to an adaptation and response by America's adversaries. And so this is how you end up in a spiral where they react to what we're doing, and so we react to what they're doing, and so on and so forth. And so how do you stop that spiral? Well, one of the lessons we, I think, take away from the Cold War, when the U.S. and the Soviet Union, I think, endured similar dynamics, is that arms control and diplomacy can be a useful tool. And the Biden administration right now is trying to call China to the table for arms control talks. There isn't much interest in Beijing, partly because I think they're in the middle of a process of building up their forces. But I do think once China gets to a place where they feel that they have reached some kind of a steady state and they no longer see benefits in investing additional resources and expanding their own military capabilities, they may be able to contemplate arms control. Ultimately, arms control can only happen when there's mutual interest, when both countries see something to gain from coming to the table. So it can't simply be that the United States sees benefits, because of course we would love to have China agree to pursue fewer weapons, better weapons, so on and so forth. But China too has to perceive an advantage in coming to the diplomatic table with the United States.
Yeah, that's very interesting. What do you think would be the tipping point for this de-escalation?
So something I hear a lot, which I don't necessarily believe myself, but this is an idea that is somewhat rooted in history, which is that maybe it takes a crisis, right? Again, in the Cold War context, it was not long after the Cuban Missile Crisis that the United States and the Soviet Union set up a hotline and slowly began a series of steps, culminating eventually in strategic arms limitation talks by the end of the 1960s, resulting in the first major arms control agreement on strategic forces by the early 70s. Now, the problem with the crisis and the problem with the Cuban Missile Crisis is that, of course, if you roll the dice on the Cuban Missile Crisis 10 times, you walk away alive maybe 3 of those times, right? So a crisis is not a recommendation. There's no way to say that the U.S. and China should walk to the nuclear brink, see that it is simply unsustainable and terrifying, and then discover arms control. So I'm not necessarily persuaded by that, but that is something that people suggest as one way to sort of break this. The other, I think, involves, again, proactive diplomatic messaging, right? Communicating to the other side that there is, again, a space of mutual benefit. And so the U.S. has to be ultimately, I think, talking about, we have to indicate that we are willing to talk about certain things that historically have not been very popular here in Washington. So this would potentially mean opening up issues like conventional forces, missile defense, space capabilities, so on and so forth, for a open-ended discussion with China. But again, even if we do this, there has to be reciprocity on the other side. There has to be political will, and I don't see that at the moment. Another suggestion that I make in my work is to actually raise better awareness of this in Asia. In Asia and more broadly in the Pacific. And so smaller countries in the region, in the Pacific and Southeast Asia, need to take a broader interest in the possibility of a major conflict between the U.S. and China, and recognize that such a conflict could really have enormous stakes for their region, given that these are two nuclear-armed countries. And so their role in potentially creating the conditions diplomatically, maybe in multilateral settings like some of the ASEAN-led meetings, to talk more about nuclear issues, talk more about confidence building, arms control, and risk reduction. I do think that can, again, create an environment in which arms control could be more likely.
Yeah. In the meantime, there is still, we do need to face the reality of the possibility of, some kind of missile incident. And you mentioned earlier that you think maybe should be more emphasis on other things like infrastructure. Can the civilian government, or should the civilian government play a role in that?
I think so. I mean, absolutely. I think the civilian government plays the role of advocating for the people of Guam, and so this is ultimately. I think this is a win-win proposition. I think the ability for Guam to remain a functional civil society in a time of conflict, of course, is not something that will be easy to do. But again, infrastructure resiliency has benefits in a war. It has benefits in a typhoon scenario, for instance. I was just in Guam and I saw how many of the power lines are above ground, for instance. Moving all of that underground is going to be extremely expensive, but that is something that I think benefits the people of Guam, and it benefits the ability for the U.S. military as well in a time of conflict. So I think we need to expand the aperture of how we think about resiliency more broadly. Again, missile defense is part of the solution, but it cannot be the entire conversation.
All right. Let me get you out of here with some parting words for the people of Guam about the missile defense system in general, and maybe relieve some of their apprehensions, if you would.
Well, sure. So, what I will say is that, like I said, I take a rather middle of the road approach to thinking about the role of missile defense systems, right? Especially regional missile defense systems. They will play a role. They will complicate planning for those who may seek to attack the United States with long-range missiles, but they will simply never be a shield, right? They will never have the effect of rendering any territory, even Guam, which of course, if the enhanced air and missile defense plan proceeds. Guam will be the most densely defended airspace on Earth. Despite that, they simply will not be able to function in that role of being a full-scale shield. And so the answer here isn't, of course, to say that missile defense has no role, but again, it's to ask those tough questions about what is the cost effectiveness of a variety of measures we might take. Missile defense, of course, has the disadvantage of being extremely costly. These are very sophisticated, technologically impressive systems, and so they just don't come cheap. And so from the perspective of what the United States could do for the people of Guam on a per dollar basis, my opinion would be that missile defense probably isn't going to be the answer to that question. And so I think the people of Guam, the civilian government in Guam, need to ask those questions of those folks in Washington making the decisions to enhance defense in Guam and in the Pacific more broadly. That's what I would say.
All right. Ankit Panda, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Ankit Panda is an international security expert with the Carnegie Endowment on International Peace. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. I'm Nestle Conta. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you again next week.